Disclaimer, I am blind and I cannot see or adjust the picture, so if the picture is not ideal, sorry, but that's just what happens. Hi everyone. This is just kind of a random tech tips video, I guess. A couple of little tidbits that I have come to discover just in the past couple days. One of them I wish I had known before my iPhone just took it upon itself to download iOS 10. Another, that if you have iOS 10 and you're going crazy with that one particular feature, there is a way to turn that sucker off. And third, something I just heard on the news. Actually, I heard it on the news last night, I think, too. But now I've heard a follow-up thing on the news. I'm actually going to start with that because this, I think, is the most important. If you're not like me and you're Team Galaxy, Team Android, rather, of course, I'm Team iPhone, Team Apple. Well, I mean, I'm not 100% Team Apple. I've actually got a Mac that I admit that I don't really use all that much. And I really use my Windows computer the most, but I have an iPhone and I'm not going to go to Team Android mostly because Apple, I feel like Apple is the most accessible for people who cannot see. But that's not the point. The point is, if you're not like me, if you're Team Android, and specifically you have a Galaxy Note 7, I'm sure you've heard this, but you need to turn it off, stop using it, take it back to your carrier, see if you can don't even ask for a replacement, see if you can get just a whole different phone. Because what's happening is, as of now, it's 12:18 on Tuesday afternoon, whatever today is, the 12th? No, the yesterday was the 10th. Today was the 11th. As of Tuesday the 11th, it's been announced that they're just not going to make Galaxy Note 7s anymore. Obviously, in case anyone hasn't been following this, frankly, the batteries are catching fire and exploding, and they had this huge recall a couple weeks ago, and they started making replacements. Now the replacements are having the same problem, and so they've just stopped producing them altogether. If you have a Galaxy Note 7, you really need to get rid of it. Go to your carrier and say, help me find a different phone, or let me just look around at the phones that are not Galaxy Note 7s and see what you have, because, I mean, it's just being discontinued. Which I think is the best thing that Samsung can do. Stop it until you figure out what the problem is and really, really figure out a solution. Not a solution that's going to end up with the same problem, but a solution that's, that figures out whatever it is that's defective, the batteries or whatever, just stop using it, period. So that's number one. If you've got a Galaxy Note 7, you need to go to your phone store and see about getting a different phone, just a completely different model phone. Whether that means you go to an iPhone or a different type of Android, well, that's up to you. But number two, iOS 10. See, in general, I don't like to upgrade to a new iOS just because it exists. I really like iOS 9, and in general, I didn't think I was ready to upgrade to iOS 10, but when that software update thing came up, I had the option of doing it now or doing it later. And the don't do it at all feature, or the don't do it at all option, was hidden under this thing called details button. And I guess I didn't realize that, or I didn't put two and two together and figure that out. I ended up telling it, do it later. See, what I thought was going to happen was it was going to hound me later. You know what? Maybe I replaced, or maybe I confused the later button with the remind me later button. I ended up saying later, and what the phone took that to mean was not remind me later, it was do it later, install it later. It took it upon itself to, in the middle of the night, install iOS 10. I was like, okay, I did not want you to do that. Fortunately, I have not been aware of any extreme bugs so far. I've had it for 9 days now, and there are definite differences, but nothing that's been impossible to live with. There is definitely a difference between. There's definitely a difference between. Well, I don't know if you just heard that, but there's a difference between that and the screen lock noise. The screen lock noise is a lot more subtle. But what I was really trying to get to is there's a huge difference between the voiceover saying screen locked and that noise. I kind of liked screen locked. I kind of liked the other lock noise. But that may be something I'm just going to have to get used to. What did drive me crazy was every time I even moved the phone or picked it up or just even slightly moved it, voiceover would tell me what time it was because the thing was waking up. Again, I am totally blind and therefore I cannot use my phone without voiceover. So obviously I'm going to keep voiceover on. But that raised awake thing, if you like it, great. If you don't, if you're like me and it just drove you crazy, take heart. There is a way to turn that son of a gun off. Go into settings. It's under display and brightness. It may be a ways down. Actually, I'll just find it for us.
12:25 p.m. Messages.
Open settings.
Here are your iPhone settings. Setting. Air. Wi-Fi. Bluetooth. On. Cellular. Personal. Control. Do not. General. Display and brightness.
There
Button.
it is.
Selected. Display and
Now,
brightness. Settings. Back. Brightness. Screen brightness. Auto brightness. Night shift. Auto lock. Raise to wake. Off.
there it is. Raise to wake. Right now it's off because I turned it off as soon as I found out that option was there. Yours will be set to on, and you can, if you're using voiceover, you can double tap on that. If you're not using voiceover, you can probably just tap it, and that will turn that sucker off.
Settings. Back button. Settings. Settings. Display and brightness. Messages.
So, yeah. Fortunately, that thing, just because you have iOS 10 doesn't mean you're condemned to put up with that. So, yeah, that pretty much, those were pretty much the things that I wanted to make sure that people knew. Number one, if you have a Galaxy Note 7 phone, you need to take it back to the store and find a whole different phone because I mean, I'm not going to tell you what phone to get, but the Note 7s are just not good anymore. They're pretty much being recalled all around and discontinued. That's number one. Number two, for those of us who are Team iPhone, if you want to get out of getting the newest upgrade, I remind myself of this and anyone else that might have forgotten it. The best way to do it really is to hit the details button. What that will do is it'll take you to settings, and then you can just back out of it. That's how you tell the phone, no, I'm not going to upgrade to iOS 10 or iOS 10.1 or iOS 11.6 or whatever the newest upgrade is. Just stay with what you have. That's how to do it, because telling it later is either going to drive you nuts, because it will in fact remind you and remind you and remind you until you finally get sick of it and upgrade. Or if you hit the wrong later button, it'll, when you least expect it and still don't want it, it'll take it upon itself to grab the install and put it up in there. And number three, if you do end up with iOS 10 and the ways to if I could say it, raise to wake makes you crazy, you can go into settings. It's under display and brightness. There's a raise to wake button. You can tap it or double tap it if you're using VoiceOver and turn that damn thing off. Because, yeah, that's a pain in the butt if you have VoiceOver on and the slightest movement tells you what time it is. It's like, really? So, with that said, I hope you have found this video helpful. If you're liking what you're seeing, I hope you'll like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video, whenever it may be. Thanks for watching. Bye.